Hello, and welcome back today for a flight from Frankfurt in Germany towards Geneva, Switzerland. We are at the holding point runway 18 and ready for the departure. But before doing so, let's review the flight plan. So what we will do is take off runway 18, fly the runway heading for 5 miles, and then intercept the 174 radial towards the VOR grid, turn left on the 162 radial and intercept Karlsruhe course 185 at 29 nautical miles. Then direct Karlsruhe, turning slightly left on the 190 degrees towards NATO, and that will be 51 nautical miles from Karlsruhe. Then slight right towards Olben, and Olben we intercept the radial from Trazingen, radial 232 at 64 nautical miles. We follow this radial towards until Bennett, and Bennett will be at 64 nautical miles from Trazingen, or 47 nautical miles from Saint-Pré. So after Bennett, direct Saint-Pré, and then the ILS to Geneva. We don't know yet the runway. If it is runway 23, it will be direct from Saint-Pré, otherwise you will have to turn and come back via the Papa Alpha Sierra VOR towards runway 05. So far so good. Clock is on. Flaps are at 5. Auto brakes reject takeoff. QNH 1000, and we are ready to go. Release parking brakes. Thrust at 25%. Landing lights on. Ignition switches continuous. Logo light on. And strobe lights on. Thrust idle. Aligning the runway. So runway heading is 177. Thrust at 40, stable, forward pressure. Takeoff power set.
$80 knots.
80 knots checked. Runway is very bumpy.
V1, rotate.
Rotate. Pitch 5, pitch 10.
Positive
Okay,
rate.
pitch 10. Flaps 2.
400.
Positive. Climb, gear up. Autopilot on. We should not climb that fast. Speed 220 knots. So we can engage Vorlok to track the Riddle VOR. That's one.
1,000 to go.
After read, we will go on the 162 radial, so we can reset that. Go to heading select, change course to 162, and engage Vorlok. Increase the speed to 30 knots. Flaps up. Riddle 7 miles. Flaps up, no lights, gear up. And we climb to 4,000 feet. We are now leveling at 4,000 feet. Further climb expected after read. So cruising flight level today will be flight level 260. So we can preset 260 in the altitude window. .5 nautical miles to read. On that radial 162 we will have to intercept Karlsruhe 185. So 185, Karlsruhe is tuned on nav2. So when we be over read, the needle will switch 180 degrees. And we will be flying away from the VOR. We can increase now the speed to 250 knots. And as you see, we are now intercepting the 162. And now we are over rid. The needle is switching 180 degrees and we are flying on this radial 162 outbound. And we can climb to our cruise level of 260. Temperature is 11 degrees, so we don't need engine anti-ice. So we stay on this heading for about 20 miles to intercept the Karlsruhe 185 course. Passing now 5,000 feet. Switch to altimeter standard. We are now in flight levels. So at 10 DME we re-engage heading mode, 168 degrees, and stay on that heading to intercept the Karlsruhe course 185. So in order to do that, we first engage heading select, change the VOR on nav 1 to Karlsruhe, so 11595. We identify the VOR, Karlsruhe, and change the course to 185. And re-engage Volo. Orlok is immediately armed and active, so we'll go for an intercept of 30 degrees. So it's turning slightly left and then it will turn right to be on the correct course. So Karlsruhe is at 35.6 nautical mile, and we leave Karlsruhe on a 189 radial towards the Nator intersection, and we are pretty close to now intercept the VOR course of 185. Half a dot deviation, and we pass now flight level 095 or flight level 260. Outside temperature is 3 degrees, but we are above the clouds already. And as we pass 10,000, we can select landing lights off, taxi lights off, start switches to off, logo light off, wheel well off, and seatbelt sign on the auto. The APU bleeder can come off as it is cooled down now. 196 in the heading.
Ladies and gentlemen, please continue to observe the fasten seatbelt sign until the captain has switched it off. We do recommend for your confident safety that you keep your seatbelt securely fastened throughout your flight. There is a call bell, reading light and fresh air vent in the panel just above your head, and we'd like to remind you that this is a strictly non-smoking flight and all toilets are fitted with smoke detectors. We invite you to sit back, relax and enjoy your flight with us.
We can also now increase the speed to 285, which is a climb speed to the cruise. Karlsruhe 24.5 nautical mile. The wind is coming from the right, 40 knots, and that explains the difference between the heading 191 and the track 185. It's a 6 degrees correction due to the wind. Karlsruhe is now 20 nautical miles. So after Karlsruhe, the next VOR that we need to track is Treddingen. 114.9, 114.3, and after that it will be Saint-Pré, 113.9, put the Trasingen VOR in the standby of nav 1. And it is already tuned. So we go to heading mode and select the 190 radial outbound, re-enter Vorlog. And on that heading we go for 51 nautical mile. That will be the waypoint Nator November Alpha Tango Oscar Romeo. And when we reach that, we turn right to 207 degrees to Olben, and at Olben we intersect the Trasingen 232 radial. Karlsruhe 7 miles. And again, when we are over Karlsruhe, the needle will switch 180 degrees as we will be flying away. .5 nautical miles. And now indeed the needle has done the 180 degrees. We are flying away from Karlsruhe. On the 190 radial. And we do that for 51 nautical miles. Passing now flight level 215 or flight level 260. Can reduce the climb rate at 1500 feet per minute. We see that the maximum climb thrust is 98.1 and we are doing 91.5, just below the maximum climb thrust. Karlsruhe 11 nautical miles, 40 miles to go. And we are passing flight level 235, flight level 260. So that's 2,500 feet left. So for the descent, we are cruising at flight level 260. So that's 60 plus 18, that's 78. So let's say 80 nautical miles. We should descend. So we can put a reminder. LSGG and 80 rings
1,000 to go.
around. And we are now approaching the cruise level. Now if we increase the range, we see that the descent will occur just before Bennett, a little bit before. Not yet. And you see the Trazingen VOR, but we will not go to it. We will turn right and intercept a 232 radial. Level, we go to Vina speed. .26 27 nautical miles. So another 24. So the Nator intersection, which is now 19 nautical miles, we will turn right on the 207 degrees towards Olben. And the Olben intersection is the intersection with the Trazingen 232 radial and our course 207. And that will occur at 40 nautical miles away from Trazingen. So Nator is in 11 nautical miles, a little less, and we turn right on the heading 207. Through 44, so another 7 miles. So the wind is probably heading to 10. .47, 4 miles to go. .49, 2 miles. .50. And we initiate the turn heading 210. We can switch the VOR to Trazingen and we select the radial, so radial 232. And if you look carefully, you see that the 232 radial intersects the flight path at Olben. Now the wind is stronger, so we need another 7 degrees to be on 207. Ground track. So on this heading, and we need to wait until we pass the Tracing and VOR, so the needle will switch below the 9 o'clock angle, and then after that we can also tune the Saint-Pré. Saint-Pré will be on 113.9er and Geneva will be on 115.75. Now we already have the Saint-Pré VOR tuned. Indeed, we need to take a direct sooner. So on this setting, we could select Vorlock, see what happens. And we see that Vorlock is only armed, so we stay in edit select mode until the needle comes closer. And just after Olben, we see the ring for the descent, so we can plan to descend just after Olben. So we will then descend initially to flight level 100, and we should be at Saint-Prex on flight level 070. Now let's check the arrival. Go to Little Nav Map at Zurich. Not Zurich but Geneva. And we see winds is 250 at 8. QNH 1011. And we go for runway 23, that's perfect. So it's a direct, and we also see that the airport elevation is 1410 feet. So let's put that information, 1400. And I see that it was totally for the cabin altitude. And we can plan for runway 23, ILS 23 from Saint-Pré. And then intercept the ILS. the approach page. Runway 23 is nearly 13,000 feet runway. Can go for perhaps 30. Now, interestingly enough, there is no ILS indicated, but there is an ILS. So we can pick up the ILS from Little Nut Map. And it is here, so ILS 109.5, heading 223 degrees, and identification is India Sierra Whiskey. So we go to the radio page and we can select the ILS 109.5. both ways. Now Trazingen is behind, and we see that the DME is increasing 30 miles, and intersection Olben will occur at 40. So at 40 we will re-intercept the 232 radial to Bennett, and Bennett will be at 64 nautical miles from Trazingen and also 47 miles from Saint-Pré. The needle is closing. We have 1.5 dot deviation. It's now nearly 1 dot deviation. We see that the Vorlock has been captured. We are still on the heading, but we will soon turn to the right. Turning now to the 232 radial, and we are ready to descend. So disengage VNAV, reduce speed first to 250 knots, decrease the altitude, then flight level 100, vertical speed, and go down. 1800 feet per minute. We should see the green arc well before the Saint-Pré. Saint-Pré we should be at 7,000 feet, flight level 70. So we can also set QNH 1011. So Trazingen 46, nearly 47, and we should go till 64. And on this heading we should intercept the 218 course towards Saint-Pré. Probably at 50, we can already prepare that. 49.5, 50 nautical mile, we go to heading select, switch to Saint-Pré, VOR, (113.9). Change the course to 218 and re-engage Warlock. And you see what happens when we are close. It's first turning right to have a 30-degree angle intercept, and then it will turn left, and that was totally unnecessary. Could have just stay on the previous heading and wait a little, but that's the way it is. Let's see if we continue to flight level 70. We are in time at Saint-Pré, maybe not. So we could accelerate the descent. Oh, no, that's too much. In fact, I can slow the descent. And we're well in time before Saint-Pré to reduce the speed. We are now passing flight level 200 and we intercept the course 218 towards Saint-Pré. And we are now passing the waypoint Bennett, which is normally the start of the arrival in Geneva. As we are passing now flight level 185, and also put the seatbelt signs on. The altitude is still decreasing now. Outside temperature -9, so it's probably a good idea to put some engine anti-ice as we are approaching the cloud coverage. is the current heading, so we will leave Saint-Pré normally on a heading 224. We can put also the terrain information, as we have some high mountain in the neighborhood. Saint-Pré is 37.5 nautical mile. And we could put on NAV2 Geneva 115.75. as a backup for the ILS. We do not capture it soon enough. Now passing flight level 150 or flight level 070. Remember, we are still on flight level. You can check the transition level in the descent page forecast. And transition level is flight level 70. So that means that flight level 70 is the lowest flight level in this area. Below that, we are on altitude and QNH. Can also reduce the speed a little, 240. Outside temperature is -1 degrees and we are still in the cloud. So on this heading you can reselect heading mode, set the new course at 224 and re-engage forelock. So that means that we will leave Saint-Pré on the heading 224 and it's now intercepting that course immediately, which is not very good. So on nav2 now we can also put the ILS on 223, and as we pass the flight level 100 we will also put some lights. Seatbelt sign is already on. Saint-Pré, 20 nautical mile, and we are intercepting the 224 radial. But actually it's a 224 course towards Saint-Pré and a 224 radial from Saint-Pré. But that's a little bit pedantic. So we are below flight level 100. Let's put some lights on. Landing lights, runway turn off, taxi light, start switches to continuous, logo lights on, wheel well on, everything on. After Saint-Pré, we can reduce already speed to 220 knots. And we have some rain. Can't believe this. It's raining every day. And oof, zero visibility. Could be snowing a little.
1,000 to go.
outside temperature is 8 degrees, so it's rain. Saint-Prex 12 nautical mile, and we are on the 224 radial. So we can put also some iron rings around runway 23. So we can put a ring at 4 miles, one ring at 10 miles, and another one at 20 miles. And we see that Saint-Prex is already within the 20 miles range ring from the runway. Saint-Prex 7 miles, 220 knots, flight level 070. So we can stay on this heading 224, see, very good. And we switch to the ILS. And ILS will be 223. So it's not received yet. So the identification was India Sierra Whiskey. And we can slowly descend to 5,000 feet. Vertical speed 1,000. +1. The brake set to 2. And we can set the QNH, and it was 1011. QNH is set. So at 10 nautical miles, we should be at 3,000 above ground, so that will be plus 1,400, so that's 4,500 feet. Let's double check frequency. 109.5 both sides.
Thousand to go.
A little now. 9.9er. Ooh. Not very good, is it? .9er. We should get it. Yes, we do. Engage door lock on the ILS. And runway is inside. Reduce to 180. Set flaps 2. Altitude hold, engage approach, passing 200. Now flaps 5. Descending the glide, so 160 till DME. Auto throttle off. Thrust idle. Eight nautical miles, gear down. Gear down 3 greens. Flaps 10. And flaps 15.
2500.
Maintain 160. Now fully established on the localizer. Speed 160, passing 3,500 feet. Passing 3,000 feet. Now flaps 25. Reduce to 150. Flaps 30. $2,500 feet.
One
1,000 feet. Autopilot off. Mid low.
400. 300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And reverses.
$80
Reversal still.
90% of our flights arrived on time. We hope you enjoyed yours, and we look forward to welcoming you on board again soon. Ryanair. Low fares, made simple.
Flight director off. And we exit to the left. Echo.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're all welcome to this airport. For your own comfort and safety, please remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened until the aircraft has come to complete stop and the captain has switched off the fasten.
Outside temperature 9 degrees.
Until we have reached the designated smoking area, which is well
And the anti-ice.
on behalf of your crew on board today, we'd like to thank you for joining us and we wish you a safe onboard journey.
And landing lights off. CPU starting. Domain off. Strobe lights off. And we are nearly there. We are on the inner. And let's go for a stand on the right here. Stand 3, looks good to me. Throttle idle. And we are stopping here. Parking brake set. EDDF on. Engines off. Fuel tanks off. Taxi lights off. Anti-collision lights off. Seatbelt signs can come on. Here we are in Geneva Airport. See you soon for next episode.